You overestimate what you can do in a day, but underestimate what you can do in a year.
Today we have Ilya Captain. He started his journey with a PhD in organic chemistry from UCLA, and later on he transitioned to the world of business and tech. His journey is actually quite fascinating from the point of view that how scientists can reinvent themselves outside the lab. In this podcast, we discuss about his transition from academia to industry, the challenges that one face during this transition, also what are the opportunities that one can look up to while the transition or after that, and also about the role of AI in life sciences and the mindset that is actually required to thrive in such environments and outside academia. So let's go. So, hi, and thank you so much for joining for the podcast and taking out time for this. And can you please introduce yourself to us?
Sure. I'm Ilya Captain. So I got a PhD in organic chemistry from UCLA a little over 10 years ago. And I came to the Bay Area shortly thereafter,
Ah,
did a
okay.
short postdoc. Then I got curious about tech and what might be my journey in tech. And even leading up to grad school, I've always been interested in business
Okay.
and sales and marketing. So I got a job at an instruments company, and then the next job I got after that was in a business capacity at a tech company that works with pharma and with scientists.
Ah,
So few more companies after that. I'm still in a business oriented role and
wow.
enjoying it. There are some benefits to that over doing science, such as being able to work from home almost every
Yeah.
day.
That's nice. And if I ask you, you have to describe your journey so far as a scientist, as a person in business, then being in tech. So, how would you describe it?
Oh, there's so many ways to answer that question. Maybe we could get a little bit more specific. Can you help me with a follow-up question?
Okay, so maybe like you have done your PhD and then you
Mhm.
transitioned into business and then tech. So how do you see yourself as different persons while transitioning from science to business, then in tech? And also I you post like very rigorously on LinkedIn, which are too enlightening. So, how do you get here actually? And how have you seen that trajectory of yourself changing? And when you change fields, you also won't have to change your business, your mindset a bit when you are having to go to different environments. So how you describe that?
It's hard to like truly pinpoint what it is because change is incremental. It feels very slow on a daily basis.
Okay.
Uh, the phrase I really like is you overestimate what you can do in a day, but underestimate what you can do in a year. So
Okay.
small changes compound over time. It just kind of felt very gradual.
Okay.
But when I look back at what I was doing 5 years ago or 10 years ago, it's so different from what I'm doing now.
So
Uh,
what you were doing like 5 to 10 years ago and what you're doing now. So I mean, what do you find more interesting? What you were doing in your PhD or what you're doing now? Like the business side appeals to you more than the science side?
I don't know that one is more interesting than the other. They're just different, and that might not be a very satisfying answer.
Okay.
But what I can say is science is very unique. It's cutting edge. It's
Okay.
very interesting to talk about. Back when I was doing science hands-on, I could talk to a stranger about my work, and they would be very fascinated about it.
Okay.
Now it's a lot harder to do because people don't get really fascinated about business strategy and go to market and about marketing campaigns and and pricing.
Okay.
It actually sounds kind of boring to an outsider, but to me it's exciting. So it's a little different. I
Oh.
think, science is fantastic, and I think I would totally enjoy my life had I chosen to go the science route as well.
The path unexplored, kind of.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
don't know what I don't know.
Yes. And like your PhD was in a very specialized field, like it was polymers and the radiopharmaceuticals. And then as you mentioned, you did a postdoc. So what led to this transition to the tech side and the business side? Was it like like an exploratory move, or you just considered or calculated the move given the advancements in the field that are going on?
It was a bit of both. It was circumstantial in that I ended up in the Bay Area and there's just a
Yeah.
lot of tech out here, and people always talk about how great tech companies are to work for, how you get unlimited vacation and all that. So I'm like,
Okay.
wow, that sounds pretty cool. I want
Okay.
that. And
Okay.
the other part of it is, um, can you repeat the question again?
Yes, yes, sure. So is it like when you transitioned to tech and into business, was it
Yeah.
more like an exploratory move or was it like a calculated move given the
Mhm.
advancements in the field that you are in?
I think business was more calculated.
Okay.
I had been curious about a sales career even while I was in graduate school.
Okay.
And I even had a sales job before I went to grad school,
Okay.
just like at Sears Auto Center, which I thought was pretty interesting. It was a fun gig.
Okay.
I talked to a few salespeople who worked in scientific enterprises, and I thought what they did was interesting. Like the way I viewed it is they got to talk about science,
Yeah.
um, but didn't necessarily have to spend hours in the lab, which which I thought was kind of interesting.
Okay.
Of course, that's an oversimplification of what they do.
Yeah.
That was one avenue of it. And when I was doing my postdoc, I knew that I wanted to try something else,
Yeah.
but it was a big decision. You know,
Yes.
how do you walk away from something you've been doing for 10 years in school
Yes.
and partially in the postdoc and then like totally change fields? It sounds risky. Like, what if you don't like it? What do you do then?
Yeah.
So I interviewed like a good couple dozen people in different roles that were science oriented, but not hands-on science. So some were working in sales, some were working in law, some were working as consultants,
Okay.
others were working in other roles like product marketing or product management. And I just seemed to be drawn to what the salespeople had to say. And I found that to be the most compelling. So there was a research component for sure. I took some of the scientific method into planning a career move.
Ah, okay.
The
And
tech part was a bit more circumstantial. I was working my first role. I was enjoying it, but I didn't feel like I was fairly compensated for the work I was doing. So
okay.
I started looking around, and there was a friend of a friend who I knew that was hiring at a tech company. So
Yeah.
those things just kind of fell into place. But I wasn't specifically looking for a tech switch.
Ah, okay. Makes sense. And
Mhm.
also, like, do you feel your PhD gave you an edge over other candidates when you were actually planning a career switch? When you were planning a career switch to tech and then to business? Or you think that if not for a PhD, you have been much faster in reaching where you are?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for the sales switch, it was a disadvantage
Okay.
because people view like coming out of a PhD, people view you as like, oh, you're a scientist, you're a science person, you're not a business person, you're very technical. Like the business route is not appropriate for someone who's very technical. So that was actually a hurdle to overcome.
Okay.
That said, there are a lot of business roles that value a degree like
Okay.
product marketing. A PhD can be really useful for a scientific company.
Yeah.
Product management as well. Like if it's a scientific product, having a PhD in a related field is very advantageous and can
Oh.
be viewed favorably. But I would say that as a whole for business, like for business roles, PhD is not a must. Like you can have the same career in a scientific enterprise in a business role without a PhD as you can with a PhD.
Oh, okay. And for the tech side?
Oh, tech is even more permissive. Like, I mean, it's not unheard of for people to not even have bachelor's degrees in tech. So it's a lot more loosey-goosey over there.
Okay. So basically, it's like if not for a PhD, you have been. Your growth has been much faster, and if you would have followed a tech or a business side.
I think on the career front, advancement would have been faster if I had done
Okay.
a master's, for example, instead of get going for the PhD.
Okay.
But nothing is black and white in life. I did enjoy my time in the PhD. I had a lot of hard times as well. There were times that I did not enjoy at all, but overall, I would say I had a positive experience. I formed a lot of valuable friendships, people I still see and care about today, so that's valuable.
Yeah.
You can't put a dollar value on that.
Yes, that's true. And from your experience, when you actually made this transition into a different environment, like you were in a research oriented environment when you were doing your postdoc or your PhD, and then when you changed to a tech side or to a business side, your environment completely shifts. It's more result and profit driven, and the commercialization and like that kind of a mindset,
Mhm.
like a goal driven mindset where you have strict deadlines compared to academia where things are more flexible. So, did
Mhm.
you find it more interesting and more challenging, or was it like difficult to adjust in that environment?
There was definitely an adjustment period, but I liked it more
Okay.
because just looking at research done in academia, and this is different from industry, but looking at research done from in academia, your goals are so long term
Yes.
that they feel amorphous and difficult to quantify, and it can be really hard to understand if you're doing well or you're not doing well.
That's
Because
true.
you're working on some, like oftentimes people in PhD work on some improvement to some process that they've never seen or probably will never see.
Yes.
So like
Yeah.
how the heck are you supposed to know what success means?
Exactly. That's true.
When you go to industry, your goals are more short term, so you can actually start to quantify your success. I think in the business side of things, it's even you can even put a dollar value on it. Not
True.
always, but often you can put a dollar value on it. You run a marketing campaign. How much business opportunity did it bring in? You can put a dollar value on that. You go to a show. How many potential customers did you connect with? Like a conference. That's
Yeah.
what I mean by show. You can put a dollar value on that. Um, so that can be very satisfying because like there's a direct outcome to the effort that you're putting in.
Yeah.
And you can look at it scientifically as well. You can look at the various activities that you do, and you can think about the return on investment
Yeah.
for each one of these activities. So you're not stepping away from science when you go
Yeah.
into the business side of things. But you can, but the science is not necessarily as rigorous. It's not as directly measurable,
Yes.
but it's still there.
Yeah, I think in PhD, you really don't know how to measure a success because everything is just so all over the place. I
Well,
think.
I suppose you can say my experiment has worked. I learned like I got a new piece of data from this. That's a success.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think that always left me asking like, okay, so this is a success in the context of this one experiment, but what does that actually mean in terms of overall value created?
Yeah, exactly. We never know the value until thesis comes.
But even then, like, what is the value of a thesis?
Yes. No, that's
I'm not
something.
diminishing. I'm not diminishing a thesis, by the way. It's more of a philosophical question. So
Yeah.
I
I
spent 5 years working on my thesis. It maybe got a cumulative couple of hundred citations from the all of the publications, but like, what does that actually mean? I don't know. Mhm.
that's I mean that's something to wonder because theses always rest on the bookshelf, but in the bigger picture, how much change are they bringing or how much of your research is actually translated into something that can benefit people?
Yeah.
That I we don't know.
Well,
And
that might not be the right way to look at it too. Like, at the end of the day, a PhD degree is education. So if it equips you to do what you want to do next, I would consider that to be a success. Very few theses, theses actually make an impact to their fields. It's very rare that someone does a thesis that is very influential. And
yes,
even then, like they might have just been at the right place at the right time. Sure, they might have also been very smart, but you can be very smart and do a thesis that just kind of gets forgotten over the years.
yeah, that's true. That's That's really true. And also, I mean, you might have heard about this thing that, academia does not offer the work-life balance, and it kind of it takes a toll on your mental health. So, how was your experience compared to academia and industry? Do you also think that, it improved your mental health and you got a work-life balance when you made the switch?
I think that this is a nuanced question. My mental health is definitely better now than it was
Okay.
when I was in academia, but I don't think it was because of work-life balance. I
Okay.
think it comes down more to impact. It's to me it was very demoralizing to work on something that I didn't directly know the impact of was. So that's just not very satisfying. So you find yourself questioning, like, why am I doing this? And
Yes.
then when you have a meeting with your PI that doesn't go well, then that only exacerbates things.
Yes.
Um, outside of academia, I would say I work harder. Maybe I don't work the same amount of hours, but the hours that I do work are more productive and can be a lot more stressful. But then there's a satisfaction to like, this is worth it.
Yeah. And like you just mentioned that, that it was very demoralizing for you to work when you actually didn't know that what is the impact of it in the bigger picture. So
Mhm.
did this question occur, if this question did occur to you in your PhD, what kept you get going to push till the end?
Well, it was the time invested. You
Okay.
invest a few years into it. It's only a couple more years left. Like you might as well stick it out and finish.
Ah, okay.
So it was a sunk cost. And I think that that's the other thing. Our minds are not intrinsically set up to think long term. That's just
Yes.
not how our brains are evolved. Like we're looking for outcomes on
Yeah.
the time scale of days or weeks. And if month after month your outcome is a PhD thesis years away, like it's just our brains cannot derive satisfaction from that.
True that.
Yeah, and then it's also advancement, right? So when you're a PhD student for 4 to 6 years or whatever,
Yes.
less for some, more for others, it's like you're not advancing year after year. You're always at the same level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pointing the same.
Yeah. And then in the work world, you you are advancing. If after a couple of years you're not advancing, then you can go get a new job. You can
Yes.
have a conversation with your boss and say, what's going on? Like, am I doing something wrong? Can we change things?
Yes.
Um, uh,
Yeah, that's right.
but with a PhD, you can't do that. You're kind of stuck.
Yes. It's a relationship you can't break up easily.
Yeah.
Okay. That seems like a reality situation nowadays in academia, I think.
I
And
mean, I think it always has been. A
yeah,
lot of it is psychological.
yes. And also now I was actually looking at your LinkedIn. I was too fascinated by the number of, I mean, the amount of years you have experienced and the kind of transition you made. So I was also trying to think that, in earlier times, data science was not that of a handy technique when it came to biology and the biological sciences. And when you were working with these institutions, what do you think was a common problem in all of them for them to integrate data sciences into biological sciences?
Oh, when I was in grad school, I didn't know what data science was. I wasn't really exposed to it until after graduation. So I can't even answer that question
When
in the
you made the
context of grad
switch?
school. Like you're asking me now, what is the challenge of integrating data science into biological sciences?
Yeah, like oh, when you went to the tech industry and when you were actually in that industry for this for the period number of years, and when you were working with them, what do you think was the most common problem they faced while they have to integrate data sciences into biological sciences or use the data science to get to the biological insights? Because now it's very handy, I think.
Yeah. Um, a few years ago, maybe like eight, I don't know, 8 to 10 years ago, I think it was just a lack of expertise. Not a lot of people were trained in data science for biology. So there were only a few people who had the skills in order to do data science. So that was a barrier. Now you can get so many different flavors of degrees in computational biology and bioinformatics and
Yeah.
computational immunology and computational
Yeah.
neurology. I don't know. There's so many different degrees that you can get in this field. Back 10 years ago, there was none of that. You would just get a degree in chemistry or biology and take an interest in data science. That's how it was done.
And as and when the awareness is increasing or the number of people in the niche is increasing, how do you think their pay scales are affected? Earlier, were they paid more and now are they paid less because now the people are more and the demand is maybe less or something like that? Do you notice something like that?
Well, I think this depends more on market conditions.
Okay.
Uh, I would say that overall, when a field is more mature, it's better from a pay scale perspective.
Okay.
Right now in biotech and pharma, I don't know, maybe there's been a slight depression of salaries because there's an oversupply of labor.
Yeah.
Mm, But I don't think this comes down to the field of data science just being more people in it. It just comes down to supply and demand. So in 2020 and 2021, a lot of venture capital firms and just investment companies that were not necessarily life science focused entered the field
Mhm.
because COVID was happening and everyone was really curious and interested in biotech and what can it do? What kind of innovation can it create? And there was a lot of interest and a lot of hype in using data science for biology. So a lot of companies raised a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like there was a funding announcement for companies raising money multiple times per week in 2020, 2021. 10 million there, 50 million there, 75 million there, like literally multiple times per week.
Oh my God.
So it was very easy to get a data science job in biotech then. Like a new grad could graduate and within a couple of months have a very solid job in the field.
Wow.
Um, and then things changed, you know,
Yeah.
ultimately, like you have to start seeing results.
Yes.
Only 1 in 10 startups work. At the end of the day, doing a startup is a risky business.
Yes.
So now what we're seeing is just a lot of these companies that raised money 2 or 3 years ago are not able to raise again. So we're seeing layoffs, we're seeing changes in the field. So it's just kind of like the consequence of the hype cycle.
Yes. Yeah. And right now in US, there was a fund cut to from the government and all the scientific institutions, their grants were cancelled or they were denied funds. So what did industry side also suffer in biotech with something like this?
Industry, not necessarily. It's not directly impacted by research funds. There are some companies that do get grants from the government, but it's a very small amount relative to private investment.
Yeah.
What I can say though is that it does affect the innovation pipeline. So a lot of the research that is done by academics, maybe 5 to 10 years later, gets adopted by industry and elaborated into products.
Mhm.
So it's a pipeline. If there is no innovation or less innovation happening in academics, there will be less ideas that industry can then take over 5 to 10 years from now. So
Yeah.
if we see any impact, it's not going to be today. It's going to be in 2030, maybe 2035.
Yeah. And like right now France did offer some fellowships for the US scientists with quite good salaries and everything, and quite some of the incentives. So do you think that these kind of offers from Europe could actually lead to a brain drain in US?
I think it could. I've been anecdotally hearing that China is ramping up investment. So like a lot of Chinese scientists who have been living and working in the US, not a lot, but anecdotally I have heard some high level Chinese expats coming back to China
Okay. Yeah.
to work there, which is like I've in my lifetime I have not seen brain drain from the US to
Any other?
China.
Yeah.
I mean, we've definitely seen it to like to some to like to Germany, to Switzerland. I can't say that I've seen it to France as much. So, but I
Yeah.
think France is harder because of language.
Yes. True. Yes.
Switzerland is easy. You can get by with English very easily over there. Same with Germany. With France, it's a little bit harder. So I think there's that component to think about as well.
Yes. That's true. So, but in long term, it might affect the field in US because there will be less people to do science, maybe.
Maybe, but the Trump presidency is a short-term thing. It will
Yes.
end in 4 years, and then we'll move on to something else. So I don't know if it's enough to think about such long-term trends.
Yes, that's right. And also, I want to, I mean, this is a kind of again a question based for long term, but what do you
Mhm.
think that the role of the data scientist, how will it evolve in the next 5 years? For example, we just talked about that in COVID time there was a lot of hiring, and then after the hype cycle we saw like a downfall. Not exactly a downfall, but because an increase in labor is there, so definitely the salaries did go down. But I mean, in next 10 years, do the data scientists will have any role? Because now AI is also taking over a lot of jobs as it's there because half of the work is done by AI. So how do you actually visualize their role in the industry?
I think data science in life sciences is like it blends multiple domains of expertise, and I think it's hard for anyone really to master it, let alone AI. So I don't know. I tend to not see a Gen AI as a significant risk to data science in biology.
Okay.
But who knows? I don't know. These technologies are evolving so fast that I can't really I
Yeah.
I can't be confident about any of my predictions here.
Yes. And do you think that because now that AI is taking over a lot of roles, so a lot of new roles are arising in the companies, maybe like vibe coding or coding with the AI and making yourself more efficient. Some roles are on these lines as well. So do you think biotech will also have any new roles like that that are different from the conventional roles?
It's harder to do vibe coding in bioinformatics or data science and biotech because the use cases are a lot more niche,
Okay.
right? So if you want to code up some kind of backend for an application on the tech side, there's probably thousands of pages on GitHub on how to do that.
Yes.
So you can train your LLMs on that information. There isn't that for biological sciences. I mean, if you're lucky, there's maybe a dozen,
Yeah.
and even that is not very reliable. So it still takes a lot of time to build expertise here.
Yes. It's
Um, but again, I don't know how LLMs will evolve. Maybe they will get good at parsing even that. But I tend to think that we'll just be able to do more exciting work.
yes. That's true.
And
And
also like a lot of what a data scientist does is still data preparation and data verification and data vetting. And it's like even if the coding is instantaneous, you still have to do all of that preparation and verification. So like how much time are we eliminating with LLMs?
yes.
You can do a thought experiment and say, well, if coding is instant and you don't even have to think about it, like what does the rest of my day look like? But there's just still have a lot of stuff to do.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I always think AI of maybe making me a more efficient, but I think what AI cannot do is creative thinking.
Well, I think it can in some respects. If you give it if you give it bounded options and you say, well, you know, I want to ideate on some ideas with these constraints overlaid, I think it can help you to be more creative. Maybe it can't be creative for you, but it can help you to be more creative.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah.
Mhm.
Even when I'm designing something for my podcast, I normally use ChatGPT to
Mhm.
give me more lines on which I can go. Like,
Yeah, totally. I mean, I use ChatGPT all the time for ideation, for all sorts of things.
yes. And also, I have this one question that I'm a bioinformatician and I have my PhD in cancer bioinformatics. And for anybody who is pursuing a PhD in computational biology, so what do you think are the skills that are required to transition into industry if they are looking for this transition? Like you might have interviewed so many people. So, what are the core skills you actually look at of the candidate if you are actually choosing someone to work with you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, it there's technical skill, which I think is the easiest one to wrap your head around, because if you're going to work for, say, some CRISPR biotechnology company, then having hands-on analysis with data sets that are relevant to CRISPR is really important.
Yes.
But there's also a lot of soft skills and maybe technical skills that are not directly addressed in your program, like project management, like communication of deadlines and goals,
Yes.
um, translating what you're doing from bioinformatics speak to science speak, translating what you're doing from bioinformatics to science to business goal speak. Like that's all very important.
Okay. And like you said, that the technical skills, for
Mhm.
example, if you're looking for a job after a PhD, which says you should know this particular thing, like very
Mhm.
particular. For example, you should know RNA sequencing. But for somebody who has not worked with the RNA data but has worked with DNA data and other kinds of sequencing or something like that, and still if you are rejected saying that you don't know this particular thing, so do you think it's fair? Because if they have worked upon the data, they know the essence of the data and can learn, because nowadays so many things are available. So on what lines exactly a candidate is rejected then?
It really depends from company to company. Like uh, if it's a large company that have in-house experts who can get you up to speed, then I think that's not a problem. Like, you know, if you have experience with related data types that are close enough, I think it's fine. You would do just fine at a pharma company. But if you're being hired as the second team member at a biotech
Yeah.
who is completely short-staffed and has no time to teach anyone anything, like they're not going to hire you because they
Yeah.
need someone to literally come in and on day one already know what they're doing with that specific technical problem.
True.
I think it would be a disservice to a candidate to hire them into that kind of environment.
That's true. And okay, so given that answer, I would like to ask that should we go for a startup post our PhDs and then aim for some big pharma company, or you should directly aim for big pharma companies and go on applying in them when you have no industry exposure before?
I I don't know that there's a definitive answer to that question. It just depends on what you're looking for. At a startup, you get exposed to a lot of different things. You might get exposed to business problems. You might get exposed to marketing and sales problems as a scientist.
Okay.
If that kind of thing appeals to you, that then do a startup. If you want to get more deep in your specific domain and expand your technical capabilities, then go to a pharma. Like maybe you want to learn about how to build scalable processes
That's
that survive the test of time. The startup is not for you because They don't care about scalable processes. They're going to be different a month from now, so why build them?
It's true. And my last question is actually
Mhm.
taking into account, like for somebody who is thinking to do a PhD,
Mhm.
what would you suggest them? Go for a dry lab PhD, like a computational PhD, given how much it has advanced now, or go for a wet lab PhD because then again, if every then again because wet lab scientists are still required to generate the data for somebody to analyze it, or to do a PhD at all if their motive is to go to the industry and earn money.
Oof, I don't know. I think that I mean, it comes down to personal interest. If you love lab work, then do a lab work PhD. If you love computational work, then do a computational PhD. What I will say though is I I personally like the idea of computational work because it gives you more geographic freedom.
True.
Like, you
Anyway.
can work out of Chicago for a company based in San Francisco if you're a computational scientist. You can't do that if you're a wet lab scientist. Like you have to be on site.
Yeah.
So that I think lifestyle choice is one of the considerations.
Yeah.
But I did my PhD in chemistry because I thought chemistry was cool, and that that was my main reason. I wasn't thinking about, well, what kind of career options is this going to unlock? I mean, I think vaguely I thought like, yeah, there are jobs for chemists, so that's fine, and I'm gonna do it today because I think it's cool.
Oh. Like you said, that our brains are evolved to think in now and not evaluate what comes in the future sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what happens 5 years from the start of a PhD?
Exactly. That's true. And
Maybe somebody will develop remote chemistry experimentation capability, and then you can work as remotely for a chemistry lab.
yes, yes. That will be a dream come true for all the scientists, giving them flexibility.
I don't know. I think there's a certain romance to doing work in the lab, like actually interfacing with your science using your hands.
Yeah. I think that requires, I mean, myself, I can't work on time points. I have this problem. I can't always be in the lab and work. So I like to go somewhere and work, having
Hmm.
my own comfort zone. And that is why I chose bioinformatics.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
Yeah. Now I think because I see my lab mates working all the time and I'm like, I'm so lucky now. Yeah.
Well, just because they're in the lab many hours, it doesn't mean they're actively working all the time.
No, they are. They are always on time points because if their cells need something, they have to be there. Even if it's 12 at night, you have to go change media, do experiments,
Oh,
uh,
sure. Yeah.
make irradiations or that kind of. So I am okay. Even if I have something, I can just do it from here, from my place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in industry, there might be some automation equipment to help with that.
Yes.
Like when I was in grad school, I used to run columns like purification by hand,
Yeah.
um, like all the time. Probably 35% of my time was spent on running columns.
Oh my God.
In an industry, nobody does that. They just they literally have machines that do it for you, and
Wow.
they do it faster and they do it better. And it's like a completely irrelevant skill outside of grad school.
It might have come as a relief, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, now I don't do purification at all,
Yeah.
so
That's right.
yeah.
And even after talking to you, I think, that some things just appeal to you and you never know when you just switch to them because you might be better at them. I think so.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this kind of line of thought goes beyond grad school at all. And
Yes.
I mean, I can even recommend some books on how to how to think about these things.
Wow. Can you just name three?
I can name one
Okay.
that comes off the top of my head. There's a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth.
Okay. Great.
Really, yeah, it's really interesting. It talks about it has a couple of chapters that talk about how you might decide on what your career should be.
Okay. That's something I'm gonna do. I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, very helpful. I mean, I read it when I was 35 and it was still very helpful.
Because I always find myself on the crossroads because I love research, I love what I do, but sometimes I think that what fascinates me even more than that. So,
Oh, my cat fell off the table.
oh, you have a cat.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would love to have a cat, but not right now because I'm barely able to sustain myself, not the cat.
yeah, I get that.
Yeah. And
All
thank
right.
you first of
Yeah,
all so much for like joining in. It was a great pleasure to talking to you. And thank you so much for taking out the time.
sure thing. I enjoy the conversation. Thank you.
And probably I've read all your LinkedIn posts and sometimes they just motivate me. They are really motivating
Oh,
because
good. I'm glad.
I mean, I read all the negativity on LinkedIn about research, about PhD, and sometimes your brain just does not want that.
hmm
So then I read your post and the D&D post, and I'm like, okay, now I have no negativity around me.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'll keep at it.